Hi kids, it's Bunny with another junk journal. This one is called Favorite Things 2 because I had too many things to fit into the first favorites journal I made, so I made a second one. And this one, as always, is, well, let me pull out a little bit, is hardbound chipboard and pretty fabric covering. And a little lace on the bottom, and it's held together with a velvet sash. I believe the color is called pomegranate. In case you're interested, and let me get my little helper here behind the book, and for some reason, I'm having trouble seeing this morning, but inside we have the first journal card. All the journal cards are blank on the back, so you can write on them. There's a tag. All the tags are blank on the back, so you can write on them. So there's, extra journaling space all around. I have a little note about this journal that tells a little bit about what a junk journal is and how it can be used for those who are not familiar with such an animal. And here's a little teeny weeny envelope. It's got a vintage stamp in it. It's very pretty, and a little itty bitty card. I better go a little faster. I'll run out before I'm even halfway through. The pretty pictures throughout are from Enchanted Spring by Ink and Page Journals on Etsy. And you'll see that throughout the favorites journal. In our first little tuck here, we have a vintage photograph, authentic vintage photograph, a pair of ladies, and there are a lot of coffee dyed pages that you can write on. I put lace on the edge of a lot of the pages. This is vintage sheet music. And got little clusters throughout, lots of little details you can look at. There's some vintage ruled paper and doily, some more vintage paper, very thin, some vintage stamps, page from vintage old book. This is handmade paper with some pretty flower petals embedded. In this tuck, we have Dancing with Cats, a favorite pastime of mine. And here is some genuine, authentic ephemera, vintage ephemera from 1901, receipt. And here's a page from a vintage children's book. And we have a little tea-dyed crocheted flower. I'll think of the words. Here's the old bird book. More vintage sheet music. Here's vintage Betty Crocker cookbook page. And in this tuck we have more pretty journaling cards. Aren't my favorite images so pretty? And then here's a tag, and on the back is a little surprise pocket with a journaling card in it. More Betty Crocker. On this sheet music, I decoupaged napkin peacock. Here's a little vellum side tuck with a vintage button, mother of pearl, and a little vintage ticket, Sun Theater. More journaling cards and a vintage postcard showing Asheville, North Carolina mountains. Isn't that beautiful? And here is a small journal that you can write in. It's got little small things and a little poem on the inside, so make sure you check every little detail in this book. You don't know what you might find. Moving on, here's a lace pocket with some journaling cards. Looks like New Orleans, maybe. And this is a page from a S&H Green Stamps book. Vintage one that I found in a antique shop. Moving on, here is a rabbit tuck with some pretty journaling cards. Hugging the Basil, which was in the first journal. Also, I really like it. And another tag. More pretty pictures from Enchanted Spring. This is some vintage wallpaper. And this is some mulberry paper. And in this tuck, pardon my sniffing, is Juliet and a mermaid. And this is a vintage little, just a little thing I found in the card, but it's got lots of blank space that you can write in. And a tag with some metallic lace on it. Oh, and if I run out before, if this runs out before I'm done, I'll make a part 2. So be looking for that if this runs out, as it usually does. Doily. Here's a little bag that has a small vintage photograph in it. In this pocket, or tuck, there's more journaling cards. Hot air balloons, and some vintage ephemera. This is from 1919. Looks like a receipt. And here's some ledger paper. Oh, here I did some stenciling with texture paste. Make a little 3D kind of thing. Here's some vellum paper. And here we have a small envelope with just some little cards in it. And some very pretty journaling cards. And the tag. Here's a pocket made from vintage piece of embroidered, I believe it's for a collar. I believe it's a collar. Part of collar. Anyway. More journaling cards. And vintage little blank receipt. Vellum. Here's a little, just a bunch of little vintage scraps of paper that you can write on or use to decorate or whatever. Surprise! Little flower. In this one, there's more interesting journaling cards. And a pretty tag. And this one has a pocket on the back also with a card in it. More vintage pages. Here is a pocket a bag I forgot to put something in. So I'll put something in that before I send it out. Here is a tuck with a vintage photograph. Looks like a little girl in her toy fire truck. More lovely journaling cards and a vintage ephemera from 1919. These were all 1919s, it seems like. It's a receipt. More wallpaper. Here's a side pocket with beautiful journaling cards and a cabinet card photo, as they call it. And in here is an authentic vintage love letter from 1932 to Dearest Billy. You'll want to read that. It's very sweet. There's some more vintage paper. Children's book. This Odd Couple, I love them. There's bee with some sparkles on it. And more lovely journaling cards. Here's another decoupage napkin that I did. A lace pocket here with some pretty journaling cards and another small notebook with miniature journaling cards and pages you can write on, and another pretty tag. This book is really chunky. I think it has more pages in it maybe than the others. But I haven't counted them yet, so I'm not sure. But it is very chunky. More vintage ephemera. This one, 1919 again. I got hold of a batch of 1919 ephemera, apparently. This is still on camera, right? Okay, here's another tuck with more journaling cards and another small envelope with small little tiny cards in it. This is a dedication page in a book, old book. Here's some fabric swatches, just pretty to look at. Lots of little details. More beautiful things to look at. Here's some more vintage wallpaper. Vellum. This little bag has, this is a cute photograph. It's a little toddler and its pants are being pulled by a puppy. And that's the real thing, a real vintage photograph. I love that. And in this tuck, there's a little girl and a bird. And this is a vintage Western Union telegram, and inside it has congratulations to a newly wed couple. Let's see if I can get through this. More beautiful journaling cards. Another vintage photograph. It's supposedly of the baby, but you get a better view of the car than the baby. More vintage ephemera. Lovely ladies. I think these are sisters. This is not authentic vintage ephemera, but it's a reproduction of a $2 bill back in, I think, the Revolutionary War era. It just looks so cool and looks real, but it's not real. The others are real, but that one's not. And here's another photograph. Surprise! Getting near the end. The lacy tag. And here is the back cover, which has a miniature notebook. And some journaling cards with my little stamp on the back. And I think we made it through without the tape running out. Tape, listen to me. And so I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you'll visit my shop, Treasure Journals, on Etsy. Bye-bye. See you next time.